Why is it said that the deeper we dig into the universe, the more despair we feel? Imagine the universe appearing out of nothing, growing silently from an infinitely small point into everything you see today. Could all of this be a story carefully packaged to happen, to be understandable by humans? The truth may be far stranger than we imagine. I hope the next 40 minutes give you a mind and soul soothing journey through the cosmos. And I hope you have sweet dreams. When you look up at the night sky, all the stars, galaxies, and cosmic dust you can see make up less than 5% of the universe's total mass energy. So what is the other mysterious 95%? It's dark matter and dark energy, things we can't directly see and can barely detect, along with an omnipresent quantum field. Behind all this, is there some profound pattern hidden, some precise code, some kind of mathematical precision so perfect it's astonishing? Is all of this merely random chance, or was it carefully designed? When we try to examine the universe we live in through cutting-edge scientific hypotheses together with deep philosophical thinking, your fundamental assumptions may face a complete overhaul. First, let's try to use mathematics as a key to decode the universe. You'll find that in the physical equations that describe the universe's workings with extreme precision, even the slightest change to any fundamental constant could cause our entire reality to collapse. Take gravity, for example. If its strength were increased by even a tiny fraction, say 1 part in 100 million, stars would burn too fast, planets could never form, and the life we know would never have existed. This is the first cosmic paradox. We must confront. Our existence seems to balance on the tip of a needle, resting on a series of perfectly calibrated physical constants. This extreme precision strongly hints at the existence of design. Yet science tells us this apparent perfection might just be a lucky, statistical accident, that among infinitely many possible universes filled with countless chaotic, failed sets of physical parameters, we simply happen to be living in the lucky one where the parameters are right. Facing these two explanations, what do you find easier to accept? You might wonder if the universe was designed. Then, who or what is the designer? And if such a designer really exists, then who designed the designer? At this point, we seem to inevitably fall into an infinite regress, a logical loop like a set of nesting dolls. Perhaps because of this, we're forced to admit the limits of our own understanding, to admit that before the mysteries of the universe, we're like ants trying to understand the structure of a skyscraper. Even Einstein, widely regarded as having possessed the most brilliant mind, felt the powerlessness of existing theory when facing the picture of time's very beginning. He believed space was a vast construct of thought, warped by mass and energy. Near a mysterious black hole, time slows almost to a stop. Moving at the speed of light, time stops completely. And in the instant of the Big Bang, the concept of time as we understand it may not have existed at all. So before the universe's initial expansion, there may be no before that we can even define. Asking what happened before the Big Bang may really be like asking what lies north of the North Pole, a question rooted in our everyday experience that loses all meaning under the universe's extreme conditions, the physical rules, logic, and intuitions we've always trusted completely fail when facing the fundamental nature of the universe's origin. So if you could reverse the flow of time and return to that initial, infinitely dense starting point of the universe, what would you see? The instant of creation, or some state completely beyond our imagination, beyond our current understanding? Facing this question of the universe's origin, some physicists have proposed various bold hypotheses. For example, the hypothesis of an infinitely cyclical universe. Consider also your own existence. Every atom that makes up your body was once forged billions of years ago in the blazing core of a dying star. Without exaggeration, you are part of the universe's evolution, and the universe seems, through this strange phenomenon we call consciousness, to look back upon and experience itself. Is this profound, essential connection between our physical bodies and the vast cosmos merely a coincidence, or is it evidence of some grander design? And when we dive into the microscopic world, what quantum physics reveals overturns our traditional understanding of reality and nothingness. It tells us that even the space we consider completely empty is actually filled with ceaseless activity. Virtual particles appear out of the vacuum and vanish again in an instant. Quantum fields constantly fluctuate and churn beneath the seemingly smooth, calm surface of the vacuum. It is, in fact, a boiling, surging dynamic reality full of infinite possibility. So the absolute nothing of our traditional conception may not exist at all at the quantum level. However, all the known laws of physics we currently possess completely break down at that extreme instant of the Big Bang. Our mathematical tools, our theoretical frameworks, cannot describe what happens there. We seem to have reached the boundary of human knowledge. Does that hypothetical designer hide within this mathematical starting point that current physics cannot penetrate? Or does this simply mark the limit of human understanding as it currently stands? Either way, it fills us with a deep sense of awe mixed with the unknown. If we insist on introducing the concept of a creator-designer, what usually follows are more and thornier questions than answers. For instance, if a designer really did carefully tune the universe's parameters for the emergence of life, then why does life appear so rare, almost non-existent? Across our vast observable universe, most of the universe's environments are extremely hostile to the life forms we know. Even on our own fortunate Earth, an estimated 99% of all species that ever existed have gone permanently extinct. Is this evidence for intelligent design or evidence against it? Perhaps this is simply because our perspective is too limited. We are carbon-based creatures who evolved on a rocky planet orbiting a stable star. Naturally, our definitions of life and consciousness are deeply constrained by our own form of existence. But what if life could take forms we currently cannot even imagine? What if consciousness could somehow arise inside the blazing plasma at a star's core, or in the extremely cold gas of interstellar clouds? What if the universe itself possesses some diffuse form of consciousness that we simply cannot yet comprehend? Under such questioning, the line between bold scientific speculation and cutting-edge physical theory is growing increasingly blurred. Let's dive deeper into another great mystery looming over the universe: dark energy. This mysterious, invisible force that seems to be driving the accelerating expansion of our universe. Current estimates suggest it makes up a staggering 68% of the universe's total mass energy, yet we still know almost nothing about what it actually is. Even more puzzling, the strength of dark energy also seems to have been perfectly calibrated, allowing galaxies enough time to form in the early universe without being torn apart by expansion before matter could coalesce. Is this yet another lucky coincidence that allows us to exist? Or does it hide a crucial clue about the nature of reality? Inseparable from dark energy is dark matter, making up roughly another 27% of the universe's total mass energy, likewise something invisible, untouchable, and undetectable directly. But its powerful gravitational effects play a crucial role in forming the universe's large-scale structure, like an invisible cosmic scaffold. Without this gravitational skeleton, built from dark matter, galaxies would fall apart, and stars themselves might never have condensed out of primordial gas clouds, meaning we could never have appeared on this cosmic stage at all. Now consider ordinary matter. Everything that makes up all we can see accounts for a mere 5% or less of the universe's total mass energy. We, and everything familiar to us, are truly the exception in this universe, not the rule, and that we humans, with brains built from that tiny 5% of matter, can even attempt to understand all of this may itself be one of the greatest mysteries in the cosmos. Why would the human brain, which evolved to survive and evade predators on Earth, end up capable of developing abstract thought, of grasping profound theories like quantum mechanics and general relativity that describe the universe's most extreme states? The abstract mathematical models we've created, pure products of human thought, turn out to capture with such astonishing precision the deepest workings of physical reality. Does this hint that our way of thinking somehow aligns with some inherent design or logic of the universe? Or is this too just another coincidence that reality simply happened to choose mathematics as its basic language, when the double-slit experiment stunningly revealed that the behavior of microscopic particles changes fundamentally depending on whether they are being observed? Our understanding of reality was shaken more than ever before. Reality itself seems to change depending on whether we are watching it. What does this tell us about the astonishing connection between consciousness and the physical world? Is the observer, in some sense, part of What constitutes reality itself surrounding these baffling quantum phenomena? Physicists have proposed all kinds of bold interpretations. Some hold that it is precisely the involvement of consciousness that causes the collapse of the quantum wave function, that the act of observation is, in essence, what brings a definite reality into being. Other, even stranger interpretations, such as the famous many worlds interpretation, propose that every quantum possibility spawns its own universe, creating an infinitely branching multiverse in which every possible outcome happens somewhere. Still other interpretations focus on what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. Quantum entanglement between particles. Two entangled particles, no matter how far apart, seem to instantly sense changes in each other's state, which completely defies our intuitive understanding of causality. All these interpretations tend to be mathematically self-consistent, yet every single one of the realities they describe is profoundly strange. If the multiverse theory is correct, then the universe we inhabit really is just one bubble among infinite cosmic bubbles. Each such universe bubble might have its own unique physical constants, fundamental laws, and evolutionary history. In that case, the astonishing coordination our universe displays would not be evidence of design, but rather the result of a selection effect. The reason we find ourselves living in a universe whose physical parameters happen to be just right for life is simply that in all those other universes, with chaotic parameters unsuitable for life, there is no observer around to ask why their universe is so special. This is the so-called anthropic principle. It provides a seemingly scientific alternative to the design argument. But at least for now, both the lofty designer and the multiverse hiding beyond our world lie far beyond what our current scientific experiments can directly verify or falsify. We, insignificant dust formed over billions of years of stellar evolution, nonetheless possess minds bold enough to use our crude instruments and limited intelligence to peer into the depths of the cosmos and ponder the universe as a whole. It is precisely from this seemingly humble vantage point that we raise our ultimate questions about the universe itself and about the meaning of our own existence. There also seems to be a fascinating symmetry between the universe's largest and smallest scales. The large-scale structure we observe in the cosmos, the cosmic web of filaments made of countless galaxy clusters stretching across billions of light-years, bears a striking resemblance in form to the complex networks formed by neurons connecting in our brains. And at the opposite extreme, at the Planck scale, the churning quantum foam of spacetime, as described by some theories, also seems to faintly echo the same complex network structure. Are these similarities, spanning so many orders of magnitude, mere coincidence, or do they hint that reality itself has some profound fractal nature? The same pattern seems to repeat and reveal itself again and again, from the smallest quantum scale to the largest cosmic scale. Some theoretical physicists have even boldly proposed that the matter and energy we perceive may not be reality's most fundamental building blocks at all, that reality may ultimately be made entirely of information. The universe itself may be less like an entity made of physical particles and fields and more like a vast information processing system, a grand cosmic computation, or an exquisitely elaborate simulation. Under this view, the elementary particles we observe and the forces of interaction between them may simply be the outward manifestation of information being encoded, transmitted, and processed at the most fundamental level. If this conjecture is true, then the designer of the universe would play a role more like that of a highly skilled programmer than a traditional creator god. But the question still remains, who wrote this code that runs the universe, and on what unimaginable hardware does it run? Once again, we seem to inevitably fall into that familiar infinite regress, that logical loop of nesting dolls. At this moment you might be thinking, are we really overthinking all of this? Are we unconsciously projecting the concepts of design and purpose formed in human social life onto a cosmic reality that may completely transcend these limited human categories? Perhaps the universe simply exists, simply and purely, with no preordained reason and no hidden intention. All of our questioning, confusion, and wonder may simply be the inevitable, wishful projection of our understanding-hungry minds when faced with the vast unknown. Yet just as we try to dissolve the universe's complexity with simple existence, the universe throws a new problem back at us. Let's enter another fundamental and equally paradox-ridden realm of the cosmos, the world of entropy. The second law of thermodynamics clearly tells us that in any isolated, closed system, overall disorder, entropy, always irreversibly increases. If the universe is treated as a closed system, it too should follow this law, moving from order toward disorder, eventually reaching a state of heat, death. And yet, in stark contrast, we highly ordered, extremely complex living beings, miraculously, exist within this universe that is supposedly trending toward chaos. Life itself seems to be a peculiar phenomenon that locally, fiercely resists the tide of rising entropy. Living things use external flows of energy. For example, life on Earth harnessing solar energy to create and maintain their own organization and complexity. But this local decrease in entropy comes at the cost of an even greater increase in entropy in the larger surrounding system, and depends on an open system and a sustained energy gradient. The sun provides that energy gradient for life on Earth. So what provided the universe itself with its initial low entropy starting point and the energy gradient for its ongoing evolution? If entropy always increases, doesn't that mean the universe must have begun in a state of extremely low entropy, that is, an extraordinarily special, highly ordered state? Why would such an extremely improbable initial state occur? Regarding this mystery of the early universe's low entropy, some physicists believe it may be evidence for a cyclic universe model, the universe going through cycles of birth, expansion, contraction, and rebirth, with black holes possibly playing a key role in resetting entropy. Others propose that our observable universe may simply be one low entropy region that happened to appear within a much larger universe. Still another view holds that what we perceive as the arrow of time, time always flowing one way, from past to future, is simply the macroscopic manifestation of the universe's overall increasing entropy. If there existed some hypothetical region of low entropy, time there might appear to run backward. Next, let's consider an even more unsettling paradox, the Boltzmann brain paradox. This thought experiment points out that if the universe exists for a long enough time and across a large enough space, then according to statistical mechanics and quantum fluctuations, it is, in principle, entirely possible for random particle collisions and combinations to spontaneously assemble a fully isolated brain, complete with memories and conscious experience. This Boltzmann brain, though it would exist for only an incredibly brief instant, could have subjective experience completely identical to yours right now. Purely in terms of statistical probability, the chance of a random fluctuation producing such an isolated brain with false memories is vastly greater than the chance of a random fluctuation producing an entire universe like ours, with a long evolutionary history and a high degree of internal order. Does this mean that, compared to being a real individual truly existing within a real universe, you're actually far more likely to be a Boltzmann brain, a fleeting existence experiencing an illusory reality? This cold mathematical deduction seems to point toward this deeply unsettling conclusion. This is exactly why physicists consider it a profound paradox in urgent need of resolution. It's especially worth noting that our universe seems to display strikingly different behavior at different scales of observation. At the macroscopic scale, everything seems to follow deterministic physical laws. Given sufficiently precise initial conditions and computing power, we can predict future states with astonishing accuracy. But once we enter the microscopic quantum scale, determinism seems to vanish in its place as a kind of randomness that appears fundamentally impossible to eliminate. We can never precisely predict where an electron will appear next. We can only calculate probabilities. Some philosophers and theologians have even seen in this the possibility for the existence of free will, believing that this quantum-level randomness and uncertainty might be some mechanism beyond physical law, subtly influencing and shaping the space of reality without directly violating known physical laws. So, is this randomness, embedded at the very core of reality, truly the fundamental nature of the universe, or merely the appearance of some deeper determinism, or could it really be a genuine source of freedom? What exactly is the nature of this randomness? If quantum-level randomness is already puzzling enough, then the concept of infinity, when linked to the scale and possibilities of the universe, may pose the greatest challenge. Yet to our limited human understanding, some models in modern cosmology suggest that the universe's extent may be infinite, that beyond the observable universe we can currently detect, space may extend infinitely in every direction. If the universe really is infinite, then, according to probability theory, a dizzying conclusion inevitably follows in any infinitely large space, any finite configuration of matter with a non-zero probability of existing must necessarily repeat infinitely, many times. This means that somewhere out in that boundless vastness, there must exist another Earth almost exactly like this one, inhabited by another version of you with completely identical genes, identical memories, and, at this very moment, possibly pondering this very same question. This isn't sensational science fiction, it's a logical inference based on the premise of infinite space and a finite number of possible arrangements of matter. Does this cosmic scale infinite repetition make your existence more meaningful, or does it do just the opposite, making your uniqueness seem hollow and powerless? Are you the one-of-a-kind you, or merely a pattern that the universe happened to produce through eternal random combination, and that repeats infinitely? Stepping back further, even if our universe is finite in space, it may still be infinite in time, either stretching forward into the future without end, or undergoing infinitely many cycles of cosmic rebirth. Going even further, if the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct, then reality branches infinitely, like a tree at every microscopic quantum event, creating an infinitely vast multiverse containing every possibility. Infinity upon infinity upon infinity. Our minds, with their limited cognitive capacity, are nearly powerless when trying to grasp such a dizzying, nesting doll concept of infinity. Is the concept of infinity itself a key that helps us touch and understand the deepest nature of cosmic reality, or is it merely a mathematical abstraction constructed by us, one that breaks down the moment our physical theories and mathematical tools reach the limits of their applicability? At this point, you might ask, what does all of this grand discussion about the universe, have to do with the everyday life of an ordinary person like me? Consider this: every single atom that makes up your body, without exception, was forged over the course of billions of years of cosmic time inside the blazing cores of stars that died long ago. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones were once part of star deep in the universe. On this most fundamental level, you are not an isolated individual separate from this vast universe. You are an inherent, inseparable part of it. The universe looks back upon itself, experiences and understands the world precisely through conscious beings like you, made from its own matter in a highly concentrated form. Whether all of this lies behind some careful design or is purely a chance coincidence isn't the very fact that you, conscious being capable of pondering these profound questions, exist at this particular moment in the universe's history itself a real miracle worth marveling at. And yet, the most fundamental mysteries of the universe remain unsolved to this day. We still don't know why the universe is something rather than nothing, why the physical constants that govern the universe happen to have exactly the values they do, whether our universe is truly unique or just one of countless possible universes in a broader multiverse landscape, whether it has a definite beginning or has existed eternally, whether the consciousness we possess is a phenomenon that emerges from sufficiently complex matter or a more fundamental property of the universe itself, and whether some ultimate purpose lies hidden behind the reality we inhabit, or whether it simply exists as it is, with no preordained meaning or direction. These enormous gaps in our current understanding may one day be filled by science in the distant future, or they may represent a fundamental limitation of this particular kind of cognitive capacity that humans have, aspects of the universe we may never be able to fully see through. Even the very question we've been asking all along, who designed the universe, may have had a fundamental problem baked into it from the start. Might this question itself unknowingly presuppose certain anthropocentric assumptions that simply don't apply to the ultimate reality of the universe? We humans are accustomed to thinking about the world in terms of cause and effect, beginning and end, intention and purpose. But the way the universe operates at its most fundamental level may lie far beyond these intuitions and categories, which are rooted in our macroscopic, everyday experience. Consider quantum entanglement, particles instantly influencing one another no matter the distance between them, which challenges our traditional notion of locality and causality. Or consider how general relativity reveals space and time unified into a single dynamic four-dimensional space-time structure, overturning our understanding of before and after. If closed time-like curves, theoretically possible according to some solutions, really do exist, then the very concept of a first cause would lose its meaning. So perhaps the universe is not, as we've imagined, something designed by some external intelligence, but is instead more like a spontaneous, inherently emergent phenomenon, much like the intricate, beautiful frost patterns that form on a window order that spontaneously crystallizes and grows out of the underlying possibilities and basic interaction rules at the quantum level. Perhaps the universe generates itself through some kind of cosmic scale bootstrap loop, creating its own initial conditions within a causal cycle that transcends our linear notion of time. Or perhaps the universe's evolution is more like a process, resembling natural selection among countless possible universe seeds, the ones that happen to have physical parameters more favorable to complexity, and the emergence of life survived and continued to evolve. Of course, we can't entirely rule out another possibility, that a designer really does exist, but this designer may not be a personified deity in the traditional sense. It may instead be some kind of cosmic level intelligence or fundamental principle operating at a higher dimension, or on a deeper level, that we currently cannot understand. But if such a cosmic level intelligence really existed, how would we explain the contradiction between the expectations of the Drake equation and the phenomenon known as the Great Silence? According to the Drake equation, estimates of the number of intelligent civilizations that might exist in the Milky Way often come out in the thousands or even millions. Yet, so far, the universe has shown us nothing but silence. Does this great silence mean that technological civilizations inevitably self-destruct, or that there are fundamental obstacles to interstellar communication or travel? Are we humans truly alone, or even more unsettling, have advanced civilizations chosen, for some reason, to hide themselves from us? If we humans really are alone, the only intelligent life in our observable universe, what would that mean for the discussion of design? Shouldn't a carefully designed universe be teeming with life and intelligence? Or could it be that a single intelligent species, capable of reflecting on the universe itself, is already the ultimate goal of the entire cosmic design? Conversely, if the universe was not designed, should we then expect life to be common, or expect it to be extremely rare? Puzzlingly, whether alien intelligence exists or is absent, neither seem to offer a clear answer to the question of whether the universe was designed. It simply reframes this ancient mystery from a new angle. Now let's make an even bolder assumption. If there really is intelligent life in the universe more advanced than us, they may have long since transcended the biological limitations we understand, moving through advanced technology into an entirely new, post-biological stage of evolution. Such a civilization's mode of existence and way of communicating might be utterly different from anything we imagine. They may have already uploaded their consciousness into artificial substrates, or evolved into energy-based life forms dwelling inside stars or at the event horizons of black holes. Their perception and scale of time might also be vastly different from ours, meaning our mere few decades of radio astronomy observation would be nowhere near enough to catch any trace of their existence. Behind the universe's apparent darkness and silence may lie a cosmic intelligence that surpasses our current understanding entirely. Going even further, what if the universe itself, at its most fundamental level, is a form of intelligence or consciousness? Panpsychism, an ancient philosophical idea, has regained attention in recent years. It holds that consciousness is not merely a product of complex material systems like the brain, but a more fundamental and universal property of the universe, inherent in matter itself. Meanwhile, modern theories of consciousness, like integrated information theory, attempt to understand consciousness from the perspective of information processing, proposing that consciousness arises in relation to how much information a system can integrate. This kind of complex information processing doesn't only happen in the human brain, it could happen in many other natural systems, and even in the universe as a whole. If this theory is correct, could the universe as a whole constitute some vast cosmic mind, possessing a kind of integrated consciousness beyond our imagination? And could our individual human minds simply be tiny nodes of thought within this grand cosmic mind? These speculations might sound quite far-fetched, but the reason they're raised seriously for discussion is precisely because they highlight the most fundamental and most perplexing mystery at the core of our existence: consciousness itself. This subjective world that each of us directly experiences still cannot be fully explained by even our most advanced physical theories. Exactly how does an objective, material, brain give rise to subjective, first-person experience. This fundamental question, what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness, may be key not just to understanding the brain, but to understanding reality itself. If consciousness really is a fundamental property of the universe, rather than merely an accidental byproduct emerging from complex matter, then the universe we inhabit no longer looks like a cold, soulless machine, but more like something imbued with inner spirit, perhaps even the vivid embodiment of some grand cosmic mind. As we go deeper into discussing the nature of consciousness, the line between science and philosophy grows increasingly blurred as well. Some physicists, starting from the nature of time, have proposed a view that overturns our everyday experience entirely. The sense of time flowing that we perceive may simply be a subjective cognitive illusion. In a theoretical model known as the block universe, past, present, and future all exist equally and simultaneously within a higher dimensional, static four-dimensional space-time structure. Your birth, your life's experiences, your death, and this very moment, as you read these words, are all simply points at different locations within this eternally existing four-dimensional block. Under this view, nothing is actually happening or changing. Everything simply exists eternally. This highly deterministic model of the universe seems, to some degree, to support the design hypothesis the universe would be like a cosmic epic whose entire plot and ending have already been written. Yet this view immediately raises profound philosophical questions about whether human free will exists at all, and about where the meaning of our lives lies. In stark contrast, other physicists have proposed an almost completely opposite view. They believe the future is not entirely fixed, but remains open and is, to some extent, jointly created by the choices and actions of conscious beings within the universe. A classic example is the participatory, anthropic principle proposed by physicist John Wheeler. He boldly argued that the existence and behavior of observers, especially conscious observers, are essential to the universe condensing from quantum potential into the definite reality we perceive. There may exist a profound cosmic scale feedback loop between consciousness and reality. In Wheeler's own words, the universe gives birth to consciousness, but consciousness gives meaning to the universe. This view offers us a fascinating middle ground between pure design and pure chance. The universe's evolution may be shaped partly by its own inherent physical necessity, partly by unpredictable quantum randomness, and partly by the participation of the conscious beings it has given rise to, beings capable of observation and choice. Now let's confront some strange phenomena that challenge our sense of reality's stability. For instance, the so-called Mandela effect, referring to cases where a significant number of people share a clear but mistaken collective memory of some historical event or detail that in fact never happened. Are these shared memory discrepancies simply because human memory itself is inherently unreliable? Everyone just happened to misremember together, or does something stranger lie behind them? Some bolder speculations suggest that consciousness may not be entirely confined to the single physical universe of ours. Within a multiverse picture, could consciousness, under extremely rare and special circumstances, somehow jump between parallel universes with very similar properties, mistakenly carrying memory fragments from one reality into another? Others believe that reality itself may be far more fluid and malleable than we imagine, and may, to some degree, be profoundly influenced by our conscious states and acts of observation. While mainstream science currently still leans toward explaining this through the fallibility of human memory, these anomalies should at least prompt us to reflect on the extent to which the reality we perceive is actively constructed by our own brains and consciousness, rather than merely a passive reflection of an external world. Next, let's enter an even more radical realm of speculation. What if our entire universe, ourselves included, is simply an extraordinarily complex computer simulation? Everything we experience would just be code running on some incomprehensible supercomputer beyond our imagination. This idea, known as the simulation hypothesis, has gained increasing attention in recent years among some leading physicists, computer scientists, and philosophers. Its core logic goes like this: if a civilization advances to a sufficiently high technological level, it will almost certainly gain the ability to create extremely realistic simulations, and would likely create an enormous number of them. Statistically speaking, this makes it far more likely that we are living inside one of countless simulated universes. If we really are living inside a simulation, then the identity of the designer becomes very concrete. They would be the programmers who coded this simulated universe of ours. But this still doesn't truly resolve the ultimate question about the original designer. It just pushes that question back one more level. Once again, we seem to find ourselves caught in that familiar infinite regress, that logical loop of nesting dolls. Perhaps all of these questions about the universe ultimately converge on one single deepest mystery. Why does anything exist at all rather than eternal nothing? Why is there something rather than nothing? This question has puzzled philosophers for thousands of years. Some modern physical theories, for instance, the description in quantum field theory of vacuum quantum fluctuations, seem to suggest that nothingness is, at bottom, fundamentally unstable, and that quantum fluctuations will inevitably give rise to something out of nothing. But, in truth, this just pushes the fundamental question back one more step. Why does this quantum vacuum, capable of producing something, exist at all? Why do the physical laws that govern the universe's operation exist in the first place? Why does the reality we inhabit, its structure and its laws, happen to be built in exactly such a way as to allow the emergence and evolution of complexity and ultimately of consciousness? No known scientific theory can truly, from a logical starting point, fully answer these ultimate questions about the root of existence, because any scientific explanation must, by its very nature, presuppose the existence of something to begin with. This ultimate mystery of why existence itself exists may be the final, most metaphysical form that the question of cosmic design takes. After passing through layer upon layer of questioning and reflection, what we are really asking may no longer be who designed the universe, but rather why there is a universe at all for us to even discuss whether it was designed, how it evolved, or why it exists in the particular way it does. If there really is some cosmic scale purpose or deep intention beyond our comprehension hidden behind the reality we perceive, it might lie far beyond the scope of our limited human minds. So far beyond that, the very questions we're asking would seem naive and laughable in its presence, much like trying to understand nuclear physics using the language and logic of ants. Or perhaps there's another possibility that the state of existing is itself the only logical, the only possible state, and that nothingness is merely a false concept produced by the limitations of human thought. When we bravely stand at the very frontier of human knowledge and gaze into the unfathomable abyss of the universe's mysteries, we're forced to confront a humbling truth. The greatest value of the little knowledge we've gained may simply be that it lets us see, more clearly than ever, just how vast our own ignorance truly is. Nearly every question we manage to painstakingly answer almost immediately gives rise to even more complex new questions. Every major scientific discovery, even as it too expands the frontier of our understanding, without exception also, reveals to us an even broader territory of the unknown. The universe is not only stranger than we can imagine, it may even be stranger than the very limits of what our particular human kind of imagination is capable of reaching, whether it was carefully designed by some transcendent intelligence, whether it naturally emerged through some inherent physical necessity, whether it arose purely by blind cosmic chance, or whether it exists in some way that entirely transcends all these categories in a way we can't even properly name. Reality, this universe that includes us within, it remains the ultimate immense mystery, forever waiting for us to keep exploring and interpreting. We are not outside observers standing apart from this mystery. We ourselves are an inseparable part of this grand puzzle, and yet, remarkably, despite facing such profound uncertainty and such enormous difficulty, we humans have never stopped questioning, never given up exploring, and never lost that curiosity rooted in the very instinct of life. Perhaps it is precisely this endless curiosity, this unyielding spirit of inquiry, that itself carries some profound meaning. Perhaps one of the most fundamental driving forces behind the evolution of consciousness is exactly this: to think about and to understand the universe that gave it life. Perhaps we, these living beings with self-awareness and the capacity for reflection, are simply the universe's way of knowing itself, of exploring its own mysteries, like billions upon billions of eyes opening simultaneously in the endless dark, gazing outward at the vast starry sky, while also looking inward, into the abyss of consciousness, together seeking the answer to that original question which began this journey of exploration. Who, or what, designed this universe? The answer to this question may never be settled, but the process of exploring it is, in itself, full of meaning. Thank you for listening. I hope this journey of cosmic reflection has brought you some inspiration. Good night and sweet dreams.